Hi, team, and welcome to our first podcast together on imperialism. We're going to be discussing the American perspective of imperializing, going out, creating, taking over new territories, creating new states within the United States with Alaska and Hawaii. We have a lot of expansion and a lot of excitement. I know that you spent a lot of time talking about imperialism when you were freshmen, but we're looking at 1898 when the United States starts to get in the game. What brings the United States into being an imperial power is going to be defeating the Spanish in the Spanish-American War, and then also annexing the Philippines. We'll be taking over new territories like Alaska, which we will purchase, and Hawaii that we will also annex. Those two will become states for the United States and round out our 50 states. And at the end of the Spanish-American War, we're going to acquire Puerto Rico, who is a part of the American Empire, but it is not an American state. They're American citizens, but they are not granted the ability to vote. So that's why we had our conversation in the chat about whether or not you think people who are part of our empire should have access to vote, and we should have a conversation about that. So the picture that you're seeing says 1898 with a bald eagle with his wings spread over the Americas. What we are trying to uphold during this time period is the Monroe Doctrine, written by James Monroe, 5th President of the United States. What it says is that the United States will not intervene with any European affairs as long as it does not impact the United States, whether it be economically, physically, militarily, in any aspect. As long as the U.S. is not directly impacted, then Europe can do whatever they need to do. The other thing that we also are saying in the Monroe Doctrine is that we do not want any colonization within the Americas. That's not just North America, but that includes Central and South America as well. Any kind of attempted colonization since the Monroe Doctrine would be resulting in some sort of war, right? We would defend ourselves and defend that territory so that it could not be taken or colonized by someone else. So why do we have imperialism? Where does this come from all of a sudden in the United States? We have a lot of economic growth. We've talked about the Industrial Revolution. We've talked about changes in our markets. Americans have a lot of new businesses and they're looking for new markets. Where are new places that they can sell and trade their goods? We also have this newfound idea of nationalism. Getting into almost the 20th century, the United States has completed Manifest Destiny, which was taking over the West and settling the West. There's this American spirit of conquering and excitement, and the United States doesn't want to be contained just to what we know now as the United States. We want to expand, and the American people are calling for it. Our military is expanding. We're going to create new ships. We're going to invest a lot of money, and we're going to want to make sure that we can keep up with the other world powers. We also have this humanitarian concept that it's our civic duty, just like the missionaries who went out in Africa to Christianize the savages of Africa. We feel this humanitarian experience too, to send our missionaries out to different parts of the world and to try to colonize and to Americanize people around the world. We're still doing that today by promoting democracy. We're not using religion, but we're using our form of government to try to go out, and we feel like we're doing our due diligence by supporting other countries. And then we have this last idea of Manifest Destiny, right? Linking back to the concept of nationalism. We've completed the West. We feel this idea of nationalism, but also at another level, jingoism. Jingoism is next level nationalism. It is extreme nationalism. It's usually in some cases violent nationalism where you feel like you need to go out and you have something to prove. So the picture that you're seeing on the right is of Great Britain with its tentacles, right, looking like an octopus in all different parts of the world. And we know the phrase that Great Britain, the sun never sets on the British Empire. That is because they had control over so many different parts of the world. And the United States wants to be in the same position. They don't want to be a second-class country. They want to be a first-world country. They've industrialized, and the next step is to imperialize and to take some control and to gather some power. So where do we go? What areas of the world are we going to be looking at? All the different areas are either a great power or they are colored because they've been taken over by somebody else. So the United States has to figure out where they're going to start to imperialize or attempt to imperialize. One of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to purchase Alaska. And instead of talking about this, I have a very fast reading for you. This is known as Seward's Folly. It's known as a big joke that the United States has purchased this frozen tundra that ends up having some of the greatest resources the United States has ever come into contact with oil and timber and gold. So I'm going to stop here for this podcast. I'm going to ask you to take a look at the Alaskan reading real fast so you have an understanding as to why we purchased Alaska and the benefits of it. All right. Have a great night.